What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chuds BBQ. My name is Bradley Robinson, and today I'm going to show you how to make these. Give me some adjectives, boys.
Porky, choppy, crunchy, sly, hoagie.
Beautiful, delicious, crunchy skin pulled pork sandwiches. Coming up! When it comes to pulled pork, there are several different styles you can go with. Here in Texas, we tend to take a pork butt, throw some salt and pepper on it, and cook it just like a brisket until it's incredibly tender and pull apart. It's got that really nice bark on it, nice and smoky. Very good. Check out my pulled pork video if you want to see how to do that. In other regions, you're going to run into a lot more complex rubs, sugary rubs, different sauces, but the king of all pulled pork has got to be the whole hog. And that's for many different reasons, one of which is the crispy skin. That crunchy skin you get after cooking a hog over coals for hours and hours is so good. Whether it's chopped into the meat, served on the side, or used as a garnish on top, it is absolutely fantastic. But cooking a whole hog in the backyard is a bit of an endeavor, which we're going to focus on in another video, but today we're going to make it a little easier for the home cook by downsizing a little bit. That's right, folks, I've got a full front leg of a pig. It is a full shoulder, skin on. We're going to cook it up over the direct coals, and it is going to be delicious. This is the shoulder of a pig, aka the front leg of a pig. And when breaking this off of the carcass, you want to split it right between ribs 4 and 5, meaning the belly continues this way. What we're left with is the whole shoulder. Traditionally, in a butcher shop, if we were going to break this down even further, we would take a bandsaw and split it in half right here, giving you the pork butt and the picnic ham on this side. You take the shank off from right here and remove this little trotter on the end. And you may recognize these 3 ribs right here. These are the pork short ribs. This is what we cooked up a couple weeks back. So we're not doing any of that today because we're gonna cook this thing whole to give us that nice crispy skin, shank and all. We're gonna need a pretty big pit for that. So we're gonna fire up the 3/4 size chud box. Now that we got this pit up to temp, it's time to throw on our hog leg. My God. We're going on bone side down, which is always a great place to start because those bones are gonna protect the meat from all that direct heat, meaning it's gonna cook really evenly. Man, what a fit. Next up, we're gonna go on with some salt. This is just some standard table salt. We're just gonna cover the skin as much as we can. And what this is gonna do is just dry out the skin while it cooks. It's gonna pull all that moisture out, so it's gonna help crisp it up once we flip it over. At Leroy & Lewis, when we do this, we use kosher salt, but I always see all the whole hog joints using regular salt. But I've had this for a while, I need to get rid of it, so we'll see if it works any better. And again, this is just to help us get that crispy skin. It's also gonna keep the smoke off of the skin, because if you ever cooked skin on pigs on an offset or any smoker for that matter, you're gonna run into a lot of really dark, kind of gummy, overly smoked skin that's never gonna get too crispy. So this is gonna help protect it while simultaneously drawing out moisture, because again, that crispy skin is what we're after. So nice heavy coating, can't overdo it. And now we're just gonna maintain some temps and let this cook for the next long time. Whenever cooking a whole hog or a big primal like this, it's always a really good idea to start out your cook really hot. That's gonna help you in 2 different ways. First and foremost, it's a huge piece of meat, so starting out hot is gonna really help you get that thing cooked and speed up your whole cooking process, get it up to temp. And second, if you were to bump your temp later in the cook, say it wasn't getting done on time, that's where you're gonna run into problems, because after the first 3-4 hours, that's when fat is gonna start to render, and that means you're in grease fire territory, because we got fat dripping right onto the coals here. So that being said, we're gonna start out this cook about 325, upward of 350 for the first few hours, and then we're gonna check back in. Ooh, nice and smoky. This video is brought to you by Manscaped. And if you haven't heard of Manscaped, they are a company completely dedicated to the care and maintenance of your balls, with products such as this. The Lawnmower 4.0 electric buzzer equipped with a ceramic blade to give you a nice clean snip without losing your tip. They also have a whole bunch of other products, including Crop Exfoliator, Crop Gel, Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, and Crop Reviver Ball Toner. So if your bush needs a good weed whacking, or you just need to devote a little bit more TLC to the old boys downstairs, head over to manscaped.com, use promo code CHUD at checkout to get 20% off your order plus free shipping. That's promo code CHUD at manscaped.com, link in the description, 20% off your order plus free shipping. Thank you, Manscaped. When it comes to fire management on a pit like this, I started out with a pretty big pile of charcoal, which got me right up to about 325 degrees. And periodically I've been throwing in chunks of this Fogo Super Premium Charcoal. This stuff is great because it's in really big chunks, meaning I can just throw a couple of handfuls in every maybe 2 hours. And this thing has been rocking for about 5 hours now, no problem, holding temps perfectly. And also, on a cooker this size, because the pork's not taking up the entire grate, I can kind of bank some coals off to the sides where it's not going to be in the drip zone, which is going to help maintain some radiant heat and help this thing keep cooking along with minimal risk for a grease fire. But we'll check back in a little bit. All right, we were about 10 hours into this cook, and as you can see, this salt is starting to flake off. Got lots of smoke color on there, and that is a-okay. You could save this and make some smoky hog salt, but I don't know. Looks kind of dirty to me. So we're just gonna brush all of this off, and as you can see, it has done its job very well. The skin, nice and dry and still pretty clean. As opposed to this foot over here, which we didn't put much salt on, you can see it's really black and it doesn't look very good. All this skin, nice and hard. It's gonna crisp up great. And it's at this point, I would normally flip this over, crisp up the skin, continue the cook. We're rocking about 160, 165 internal. Perfect time to flip it. But I gotta admit, I had a bit of a late start on this cook today. I had a couple of smoker pickups this morning, so I didn't get this hog on the pit until about 3 p.m. So it's currently, I don't know what that was, 1:30 in the morning, and I'm gonna pick this up tomorrow. So what I'm gonna do is known as a split cook here in the industry, meaning I'm gonna throw this pork into a Yeti to hot hold overnight, and then tomorrow morning we'll fire this pit back up, crisp up that skin, take it all the way through temperature, pull it up, chop up the skin. And this is a great thing to do if you ever find yourself in this position, or you have a really long cook that you need to break it up, especially with something like pulled pork. It's really forgiving, and especially that one, it's got a lot of fat, so I am not concerned at all. Pro tip, anytime you want to rest something in a cooler, throw a little bit of boiling water in there right beforehand. That's just going to bring the ambient temperature up, have a nice level of moisture in there, and just ensure that you hold as much heat as possible. So, in it goes. And we will come back tomorrow, get that skin nice and crispy. It is the next day. The overnight hold in the cooler worked beautifully. Pork stayed nice and hot, carried over. It was still nice and hot this morning. I've now thrown it back on the pit, got the chud box up to temp, and now it's time to flip it over. As you can see, all the salt has come off. This is feeling kind of like leather. So now we're gonna flip it onto the skin side right above the coals, and that is gonna get nice and crispy. Oh yeah, beautiful. As you can see, we've got some beautiful color on this underside, not too dark, and these bones did their job of protecting the meat. And this right here, all these little bits, ooh, that is some of the best flavor you're ever gonna get. Very nice. We're gonna let this rock for the next few hours. We're at an internal temp of about 170 right now. So once that gets up to around 200, this meat will be ready to pull. That skin should be nice and crispy, but we really want to keep an eye on it because now we're fat capped down. We got some weight on it too, so we are in some severe grease fire territory. If a flare-up does happen, which is more than likely, happened to me a few times yesterday, what you really want to do is just get in there with your shovel and just kind of pat out the fire, kind of smush it down into the coals. That'll kind of help dampen it. And they're pretty easy to put out. Once they're out, they tend to stay out for a good bit, but it's always good to keep an eye on it. I also have a squirt bottle full of water right next to it that I can spritz it if it's getting real out of control. But that's just part of direct heat cooking, especially with a whole hog or a big fatty piece like this. Just don't walk away too far. And remember, if it does catch on fire, you can always open the lid to kill all the heat inside so you're not going to burn anything up too badly. And God, it smells good. Now that our shoulder is flipped, let's go ahead and make ourselves a mop sauce. Starting with equal parts cider vinegar and white vinegar, some hot sauce, some Worcestershire sauce, some granulated mustard, granulated garlic, some paprika, black pepper, crushed red pepper, a little bit of sugar, and about half a lemon sliced up, and a little bit of Miller Lite, just for good measure. On to the heat it goes, just till everything dissolves and comes together real nice. And for a sauce like this, I really don't use a recipe. I just kind of wing it. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then you can taste it, and all you're really doing is adjusting your spice to acid to sweetness ratio. But you want it pretty tangy. This is a vinegar sauce after all. All right, it's a few hours later, and I have been periodically coming and just mopping this pork shoulder. This is gonna accomplish a few different things. First and foremost, we're adding some really nice spicy acidity to this super rich pork, which is gonna help with flavor. Also, it's gonna help soften up some of this bottom bark that got really tough because it's been blasted with heat. And conveniently enough, if there's ever a flare up, this will be dripping down onto the coals as well to help make sure nothing catches on fire. So if you ever see it starting to rise in temp, just give it a mop. Help stifle the flames. But this thing is reaching an internal temp of right around 200 degrees. It is feeling really tender. Some of the toughest parts over here, right by the bone, are still around 175. But I think we're getting real close to pulling this thing off. All right, I can't wait any longer. I think it's time to pull this thing off. Ooh, that skin is fragile. Stuck to the grates a little bit, that's okay. Oh, bam. Can't forget this little guy. There we go. Ooh. Golden crunchy skin, looking perfect. Not too dark, definitely. Nice and crackling. I mean, sometimes you just gotta look at it. All right, let's pull this thing off. Oh, messy. Oh, that crunchy skin. Oh. I'll tell you what, we're gonna let this rest for the next bit because it is piping hot right now. But in the meantime here, can't say no to that. All right, after a solid 45-minute rest, it is finally time to pull into this pork and see how it came out. First things first, we're gonna take off this incredibly crispy skin. And I gotta tell you folks, this stuff is addicting. Oh, so good. Oh, somebody saved me from myself. That's a good sign. I mean, come on. Skin is removed. Let's try and flip this over real quick. Pull all these bones out. A lot of good meat in between there. All this stuff on the back, this black stuff that's softened up with the rub, it's got some of the best flavor because it's fully caramelized. Pulling these bones out, they're all pulling out clean. We'll save all these bones, make a super flavorful stock out of them. We'll also save any of these really hard bits that got blasted a little too much that aren't gonna make for good pulled pork. Save those, throw those in the stock as well. Nothing but pure flavor. Where's that shoulder blade bone? Oh, there it is. Now that's clean. Now it's time to dive into this pork and we're just gonna go right on at it. It wants to pull apart. It's a pork shoulder. And because it's got that shank meat in there also, we're gonna get some different textures as opposed to just your classic pork shoulder. Gotta do it. That is a beautiful tray of pulled pork. Now to this point, we definitely want to go in and hit it with some seasoning because remember, all the salt was either protected by bones or skin. So it's definitely going to need some salt and probably some extra acidity from our mop sauce. But I'll give it a little taste first. Oh, that is fantastic. I know I say it all the time, but it's hard to beat that direct heat flavor. A little bit of salt, a little bit of our mop sauce. Get that nice salty vinegar tang. Yes, please. Whew, that's hot. I like to kind of leave it kind of chunky like this. I think it's a lot better for sandwiches, but a lot of places will go through with some cleavers as well. Get that really fine uniform texture. Gotta love those taste it as you go recipes. So as I mentioned, there's a few different options for what to do with the skin when making a whole hog or pulled pork crispy skin sandwich. Some places will leave the skin on the bottom of the pig and chop the meat inside of it using the skin as a bowl. Very great presentation, good for events. Other places will disregard the skin entirely, and some places will chop the skin up into the meat with 2 cleavers, which is also really tasty, but you're gonna lose a bit of that crunch if that skin goes in with the meat and all the sauce. However, that is a really great method for beginners, because if you undercook your hog and you're going at it with the 2 cleavers, you're gonna end up with an even consistency either way. But today I'm gonna be doing what we do down at Leroy & Lewis, which is using the skin as a garnish on top of the sandwich, which means it's gonna stay nice and crispy, give you that nice textural difference, and it is going to be delicious. Chudvengers, assemble! Where's the Hulk? Here he comes.
Here he is.
Boys, can I interest you in a pulled pork sandwich?
I want this one.
There's no better sandwich than pulled whole hog sandwich with creamy sauce.
I didn't see the crunch coming. You surprised me, Bradley.
That's really good.
Thank you.
Oh my. Yeah, let me try some of that mustard.
This is the best thing I've ever eaten on camera.
Lube me up.
Pork and mustard sauce, crunchy skin, little coleslaw, 3rd of July. Oh, can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, that'll eat. How many more do you
It's
have?
like incredibly good.
I was about to say, you could just sell this at a barbecue place. You really, we just do sandwiches. We just do this pulled pork too.
Every place outside of Texas just sells this, and they aren't even this good. So.
Done! Run it back. I'll take another place.
Plenty more of that came
Yeah.
from, fellas.
Rewind.
Ah, that was good.
All right, y'all, and that is it. That is how to make some absolutely fantastic crunchy skin pulled pork sandwiches. I highly recommend giving this method a try if you can find the pork. I got mine from Peaceful Pork here in Texas. It's a red wattle Berkshire cross, and it is some of the best pork you can ever get. So if you're in Texas, I recommend looking them up. If not, just go to your butcher. They can always get you that cut. Saves them some time because they don't have to break it down into even further pieces. And it's a really great way to feed a crowd. You can make a ton of sandwiches out of it. It's a really fun cook. You get that crunchy skin, and it's miles better than any pork butt you're gonna get at the grocery store. But that being said, if you do give this recipe a try, be sure to hit me up on Instagram at ChudsBBQ. I love to see what y'all are cooking. Let me know in the comments down below what you want to see me cook next. If you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting that subscribe button. Big shout out to all the Patreon members. Thank you for supporting the channel. And until the next time I see you, please go cook something outside. Peace!